Hey chess family, it's me, National Master Jesse James, and today we're going over the Smith-Morra yet again. And this is a really good demonstration about, well, attacking the king while it's in the center. Here we go. We start off with e4, c5, the Sicilian, pawn to d4. We're going to start our Smith-Morra Gambit here. Of course, by all means, they don't have to take, but hey, it's always a lot more fun when they do. Pawn takes on d4, pawn to c3. Now this starts the Smith-Morra, and we're going to be looking at the accepted. He took the pawn. This is actually against one of our young scholastic players here, Evan Zhang, a very strong player. I believe he's around 1800 at this time. All right, so knight takes on c3. Knight to c6, knight to f3. The knights go to their good spots. A lot of times what happens in the Smith-Morra is you're going to be giving away a pawn, and you're going to get a lot of really good attacking chances. Okay, and here he plays one of the best defenses, which is pawn to e6. In fact, there's two lines that I consider refuting the Smith-Morra Gambit. This is definitely one of them. Feel free to check out the other videos where I go over in depth about how to get out of it. But e6, like I said, is one of the ways that you could refute this Gambit line, although he does not play the theory move, which we'll get into in a second. So we continue normally here with bishop c4. The bishop is very good placed on this diagonal. Pawn to a6, again, a very nice move here, stopping a lot of the knight to b5 threats, and that's what this e6 and a6 pawn move do. They stop the knight from going to d5 or to b5. And here, well, let's go on and continue. White goes ahead and castles. And here he plays the move knight g to e7. Now, this is all theory as far as the Smith-Morra goes. And here, I'm going to be playing the move that you should play when you get into this position. I have a rule, and this is based off Mark Esserman's book, Mayhem in the Morra, which I highly recommend. And in that book, he goes over the game just like this, where against knight g e7, you're going to go ahead and play knight to d5 at some point. Just remember the rule. If you do play against Smith-Morra, someone is playing the e6 line, and you're playing Smith-Morra, the rule is to play knight to d5, but you have to do this at just the right time. And here Mark says to play bishop g5, which is the best move. Now here in the game, my opponent played pawn f6, which is the mainline theory, but I don't believe is the best. After f6 here, the bishop now moves back to e3, and now white actually does have a good little advantage. Here the refutation line to play is actually pawn to h6, bishop h4, and then pawn to g5. As we're going to see in the game, I'm going to be able to open up the center and, well, just attack the king. In this one, though, black should be able to play bishop g7 and castle kingside. Again, if you want to, check out that other video. But as I said, he played pawn f6. I'm very happy to see this. Bishop goes back to e3. We're going to see why this actually is very helpful in the future. Here we continue with pawn b5 attacking the bishop. All right, bishop back to b3. And here we go, knight to g6. This is the whole plan of trying to play this e6 move. A lot of times what happens is the pawn moves to e5, harassing the knight that goes to f6. So the idea is putting the knight to g6 here and allowing the bishop to come out. But as I said before, the bishop right here on e3 is the idea. And hopefully you remember, what are you supposed to play here as white whenever they play against this and they play e6? Here, hopefully you didn't forget, we're going to play knight to d5 here. Remember, this knight to d5 is going to try and open up the center. And here, we see why it was important to put the bishop to e3. Now, by all means, you don't have to take this knight, but you will have to deal with quite a few consequences. For instance, here, bishop to b6 is now being threatened. And now we're going to see it's going to be attacking the queen and also attacking c7. So here, knight c7 check will actually fork the king and the rook. Now, here he played the main line, which is pawn takes on d5. Just remember, guys, when your opponent's king is in the center, you have to open up the king, meaning look for pawn trades and open diagonals. This is going to help you get your pieces to the attack. And this is exactly what happens in the game. If he didn't want to take here, he can try rook to b8 here, which is a move, but here the knight just stays there and is really annoying and just king. Here white just goes rook c1 and keeps developing and keeps attacking. So he did the most challenging move, which was e takes on d5 here. All right, what do? Pawn takes on d5, of course. Here, by taking with the pawn, we're opening up the e file. Okay, well, the knight doesn't want to be lost, so the knight goes to e5. And now here, correct moves. Knight takes on e5. Knight takes on e5. And now, this is the move that really nails the nail into the coffin. Here we go. We get to play pawn to d6. This is a very important move. With this move, we're going to stop the bishop from moving out. And we also open up the bishop here on the long diagonal, saying you're not going to be castling anytime soon. Again, the king is literally stuck in the center here. And so for the rest of the game, it's just really me attacking, and, well, he can't really defend it too well. All right, he went ahead and played bishop b7, a very good move. If he didn't play this good developing move, queen to d5 is going to be a very, very tricky move, threatening on f7 here. I mean, the knight's going to be kicked away very fast. So bishop b7 got played, and here I want you to analyze two moves, because one of them is winning and the other one allows black to defend. Do you play rook to e1 here to try and kick the knight with f4, or start off with pawn to f4 first? So that's your chess. Can you figure out the move? Which one is right? And the other one, well, is just wrong. Or hopefully you push pause and tried to figure it out. Which move was it? Believe it or not, the only move to play here was rook to e1. And after this, it's a +5 advantage, and I'm able to keep leading on with a strong attack. Now, if you played pawn f4, this actually does not work. In fact, black is much better here. Why was f4 wrong? I mean, it looks like almost the same thing. The rook is going to go to e1. Here, the knight jumps to c4 and blocks the bishop off. And now, actually, it says black is the one who has the advantage here and is just better. Notice that when the knight goes to c4 here, the king is actually having access to f7 here. And you're like, why can't we just play something like rook e1? You're more than welcome to, but again, after king f7, this bishop is guarding the d5 square. There's no good checks for the queen to jump and attack the king, so black is actually just winning here. So here you have to play the correct move, rook to e1, threatening pawn to f4. If the knight moves away, the bishop will have discoveries. For instance, we'll just say that, I don't know, black played rook c8, f4, and the knight cannot move. If the knight moves to c4, here we have discovery checks, and here you can just win the queen. A nice discovery check there. So, in the game, after rook e1, here Evan went ahead and played queen over to b8. A nice idea here. Here the idea is to put pressure onto d6 pawn. If I do play pawn f4, it won't be as strong now because, well, after f4, he'll probably just sacrifice the piece back and just probably take on d6 with the bishop or the queen here. And again, white is still winning here because the king is still marooned in the center or can't castle, but you know, always look for your strongest move here. When you see a good move, look for a better one. So here we actually get to play bishop c5. Do not let him escape in this position. So bishop c5 is very simple. I'm just defending the pawn, and I'm threatening pawn to f4 here. Okay, he went ahead and played queen c8, and actually this leads to a forced checkmate. Here I consider the very regular move, which is rook to c1, but the idea of queen c6 is actually quite nice. If you play rook to c1, here black can go ahead and play queen to c6, threatening checkmate on g2, and well, white's still winning here with the combination, but still, here black is going to survive for a little bit longer. Here I was able to find a forced checkmate here. All right, it's white to move. What do you play? Remember, if it ain't check, it ain't right. Here you get to crush through with a very nice rook takes on e5 check here. And here he went ahead and played bishop to e7 as everything else is just losing. Let's take a quick look. So here if you try to play pawn takes, here we get a nice checkmate in 4. Queen h5 check. And here if the king does go to d8, and this is in the other line too, here bishop b6 gets played. The queen has to block. Bishop takes, king over to c8, queen e8 mate. Not too hard to find. And, well, if you go ahead and play it the other way with pawn g6, it's almost the exact same thing. Queen takes on e5 check, forking the king and the rook. But again, the same idea. King over. And here we can play queen f6 check. Bishop to e7. There's nowhere to move. And queen takes on e7 is checkmate yet again. So after this, rook takes on e5. He just went ahead and played bishop e7. Again, this is all just winning here. Here, rook takes on e7 check was played. King to f8, and then at this point he went ahead and resigned as it is a forced checkmate here. I'll go ahead and give you the final idea. Here rook f7 check gets played, king to e8, and then you just bring the queen into the game. Queen e2 check, bishop blocks, queen takes, king goes to, oops, not f8 of course because the rook's guarding it. The king just goes to d8, and here we just finish up with queen over to e7 for check and mate. Remember, guys, when your opponent's king is in the center, you need to try and open up files and diagonals and harass that king as soon as possible. Hope you guys enjoyed this, and we'll see you in the next video.